Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate? Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast, where today we radiate winning with Carolyn Wilman. Carolyn began her writing journey as the contest queen, teaching others how to master the art of sweepstaking. As you must believe you are a winner before you actually are one, becoming a republisher of out-of-print mindset and metaphysical books was a natural next step. Carolyn has republished all of Helene Hadsell's work, who we will talk about, and has started releasing Tag and Judith Powell's books and audio series at Words for Winning. All of this we will get to and explain, I promise. Hello, Carolyn. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited because this is one of my favorite things to do, especially radiate.
Yeah, right? I know. It's like whatever we have inside. It's like, whoa, radiate up.
So I radiate fun. I radiate excitement.
You do? You're based in Toronto, right?
Just outside, yeah.
Right at
Toronto. Oh, I don't know if I'd want to live in the city anymore. It's so busy.
Oh my God. It's so busy. I know. So, I heard you on somebody's podcast. I can't remember whose podcast I heard you on. And I was like, okay, I need to look this person up. I need to interview Carolyn because you are a devotee of Helene Hadsell. So for people who do not know who Helene Hadsell was, and she died like how many years ago today, like on this day?
Yeah, it's crazy how we had booked this podcast interview and I didn't even clue into the date until I was doing all my blogs. And I realized it was 14 years ago today that Helene passed away.
That is exciting.
I mean, with us because she wants us to talk about her and share her wisdom with other people, clearly.
You can't make this stuff up.
No.
So tell us who Helene Hadsell is for those of us who've not been, those of us who don't know who that is.
Well, Helene Hadsell was famous for winning every prize she ever desired, including a fully furnished home. And in 1971, she wrote a book called The Name It and Claim It Game. And then in 1988, she updated it and republished it. So the first one went out of print, then the second one went out of print. And then she was republishing it at home herself. I love her. And you have to remember the technology at the time. I think she was using like Word Perfect and the space bar and the return key because she wasn't techie to edit her books. And she would print them out and then cut them and Surlox them. And if you don't know what Surlox is, you need to just Google it or you're not old enough. And she would Surlox them and mail them to people. And she kept updating the book right until the year she passed away. Like she never stopped teaching or wanting to get her message across to people, which I find amazing. But in 2008, I had her as a guest. I had a podcast before podcasts were cool. I wish I had figured out a way to have kept it going the whole time, but that clearly wasn't my destiny. And I had her on my show because at that time, I wear 3 crowns, I say. I started as a contest queen, and then I opened up a marketing business called Idea Majesty, and now I have a publishing company called Words for Winning. So Contest Queen, I teach people how to win sweepstakes contests and giveaways. Idea Majesty, I work with other companies on running those giveaways. So I work both sides of the aisle. And then on Words for Winning, I publish, that's where all the books reside. And so I had her on my podcast and off air because a lot of people, when they are on the type of podcast, we chat before the interview, you chat after the interview. And I asked her if I could come visit. And she said, no. And I went, okay. I shot my shot. And 3 days later, she phones me back and she said, your spirit guides are so loud. You better come visit. And we was like, okay. So while I was down there, she said to me, you need to maintain my legacy because no one else is going to do it. And I think at that time, like her grandchildren weren't interested or she hadn't talked to them. I don't know. But clearly there was a soul contract between her and I to do this because some of the things, skill sets that I had, she had, and some I had that she didn't. So for example, I was an author like her, but I was techie. She wasn't. I was entrepreneurial. She wasn't. And I think she knew I had access to tools that she didn't. So, for example, one of her goals was to have her books translated and to do audiobooks. I'm doing all that now, but also the technology has changed. So I think she was highly intuitive. So I think she had a sense of that, like what was coming, because she always said, I love this, there is no failure, only a delay in results. So she had some goals, but I'm accomplishing them. So there is no failure, just a delay in the results. So the results actually surpassed her lifetime.
That's fantastic.
We have to remember that we're energy, and it could be sometimes what we're doing is bigger than us.
Now, when was Helene like doing all of this? What was her heyday?
Her heyday was she started winning sweepstakes back in the 60s, 50s and 60s. And in 1965 is when she ended up winning the Formica house. And right after they moved into the house, actually, I think she won it in 64 because it took them time to build it. And they moved in 65. And a few months after she moved in, that's when she met Jose Silva, who's famous for creating the Silva method, or it's known as the Silva mind control method, because they took mind control out because people got freaked out about it. But you're actually controlling your own mind. You know, that little monkey mind that we have that chatters. That's what you're learning to control. But now it's just called the Silva method. But she met Jose at that time and ended up taking his course. And then she ended up being his assistant. And she used to book the workshops and get word out and all these kind of things. So that's what she used to do. And so it was in that heyday where she was winning prizes. She wrote the Name It and Claim It game. But the reason she wrote it the way she did was because it was 1971 and she lived in Texas, and no one was going to talk about the woo-woo stuff we talk about today, spirituality, metaphysics, no way. So she wrapped the whole book under the guise of winning prizes. And what was really amazing is even though I had edited the book several times, making sure, you know, it was for modern publishing methods, I had to change things to make it fit today's guidelines. It wasn't until I started doing the Audible edition that some of the lessons really popped out, because now I was saying them, like I was reading them, like I had been, but I was also saying them and hearing them. And I highly recommend everybody read your spiritual, metaphysical, motivational, inspirational books out loud to yourself. So read it once normally, and then go back and read it out loud to yourself, and you will be amazed at what you catch. And she was a master at weaving those metaphysical lessons in stories that you don't even necessarily catch the first time. And I admire her. I think in some ways she was ahead of her time.
Yeah. How did she get into this metaphysical woo-woo stuff?
I don't know the exact beginnings, but she loved to read. And she was about 40, was she said, when her journey started. So that would have been in 1964, which coincides with her starting to read books and meet Jose Silva. So he was close to her beginning journey into metaphysics. If you ever read the Silva Method book or taken one of the courses, you will see that a lot of current teachers, one, had taken the Silva Method, and two, have now, because we all stand on the shoulders of the teachers prior to us, right? That's the whole idea, is we all keep moving up. All boats rise with the tide. And so you would see a lot of today's teachers, it's a lot of throwback to Jose Silva. I think his program, really, I say he's the OG, original gangster teacher with his program, because a lot of the stuff he was teaching so applies today. Like we all talk about meditating. Where are you going? Into alpha. What does he teach? That's where you go. That's alpha is where you create. And beta is where you take action. That was Jose Silva. A lot of teachers are teaching that. One of my favorite teachers, Robert Ohado, I was listening to one of his programs and he talked about dropping into the cosmic heart. And I went, oh my gosh, that's Jose Silva. It's the same thing, but with different language, right? You can't advance spirituality in the mind. It has to be done at your cosmic heart level. And to me, alpha is down and it's down here. This is at your heart level. That's how I see it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's the same thing. It's crazy how it all. So she started her path. I know for this winning sweepstakes part, she read The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, who we all know and love.
Right.
But I don't know what year she read that book. There's gaps in numbers, and she kept journals and things. But when she wrote her books later with some of her stories, even I had to change some of the dates. Get in contact with other realms. She wrote it in 2001. She was remembering stuff 30 plus years prior. And I was like, that date sounds wrong. So I'd go and fact check her. Oh, she was off by a year. So I'd fix it because she was going by memory.
Right.
which is pretty good for an 80-year-old writing books.
Not bad at all.
Right. 70. So she really got writing. So she did writing when she was in her early 50s, but she really got writing in her 70s and 80s, which is amazing. Like
Right.
she never stopped. And I plan to be like Helene. I don't ever see myself stop.
So she wrote the Name It and Claim It game, which was
Yes.
her biggest and most well-known book that she wrote. What is
Right. That one's behind me, that banner.
the news? Contesting the Name It and Claim It. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I know most about her. I don't know nearly enough about her like you do, but that is how I know her. Just you name it, you claim it, and you win, right? So what is that about? I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to ask you a few simple favors. First of all, please rate, review, and share this podcast wherever you're listening. You know, it sounds like a simple little thing, and it is, but it has a huge impact for us because it helps other people find us in the podcasting algorithms. I don't know how it works, but I do know that it helps a lot. Next, if you would subscribe or follow wherever you're listening, whether that's YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you're listening, just hit subscribe or follow, and that helps you and it helps us. It helps you because then you receive notifications when we have a new episode that's out. It helps us because, again, algorithm magic, I don't know what happens, but it helps. And then finally, you can support our podcast in a tangible way by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast and then click on support the show. Now, we have a new feature too. We are now on Patreon. You can find us on Patreon. You can also find the link to Patreon when you go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast. So on Patreon for $3 a month or $5 a month, you can support your metaphysical and spiritual growth. You can learn about upcoming guests and you can get early and ad-free versions of the shows. So please support us. This podcast is free for you to listen, but we have costs and quite frankly, they come out of my pocket. So if you like this content, if you get a lot out of it, please see what you can do to give back. Thank you so much.
Well, this is interesting because there's a lot of videos out there. I really need to do, I haven't done my own yet. I've been a little busy writing books.
Wonderful.
But she came out with a spec method: select it, project it, expect it, collect it. And it's her take on the law of attraction, which is ask, believe, receive. But she expanded it. And what's interesting is in the very first edition of the Name It and Claim It game, spec isn't in the book.
Right.
And then in the second edition, when she updated it, she had select it, project it, expect it. There was still no collect it. And then in 2009, when things we had that big depression, that's actually when things started to go down with the stock market, she wanted to uplift people because there was so much going on in the world at that time. And so she wrote the spec method and sent it in, and it was published in the Sun newspaper. And so I have that article and I've republished it for people to read it. And that's when she broke it out to spec. So to me, select it is, well, obviously set a goal, pick what you want. Project it is from the mind. This is what you're projecting out, what you're visualizing. And then expect it is living in the end result, which to me is down here. So again, to me, that is a little bit of a throwback to Jose Silva. Project it and expect it. And then collect it is the obvious. It's now manifest and you got it in your hand, or you're on the vacation, or you've got the romance or the job or whatever it is you selected to begin with.
Right. Which is kind of like what Abraham Hicks talks about as well.
It's all the same stuff with different words. This is why I love it, because there's so many different methods teaching the same thing. Well, why do we need that? Well, we all learn different ways, many roads to Rome. And sometimes when you hear something from one person, it doesn't resonate. But when you hear a similar thing, the same thing, but said in a similar way or a slightly different way or a different technique, then it clicks for you. Because the world is such a mosaic, we need a mosaic of teachers so that we can reach everybody. That's why there's so many different modalities. Somebody will say, well, tapping works. Well, yeah, tapping works. Well, I like meditating. Well, yeah, meditating works too. I like the law of attraction. Yeah, the law of attraction works too. I like the law of assumption. That works too. It all works because we're all different people and we all need a different way to get to the same place.
Right. When I taught English on the college level, I would explain the same concept 10 different ways. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. One of those ways is going to stick, but right. That's something that's going to resonate with them. Yeah. So I totally agree.
But isn't that fantastic that, we have all these options and you play with it? Even Helene, when she wrote In Contact with Other Realms, she talked about her friend Susan, called her a metaphysical butterfly, flitting from thing to thing, looking for whatever it was. Oh my God, how wonderful. I would have liked to have known Susan.
Right? Now, how did you get into the woo-woo stuff? Was that you?
I got into the woo-woo stuff when I was 18. First of all, I always liked the stuff that was kind of supernatural. I remember reading about UFOs when I was maybe 10 or 11. I loved all that stuff. How did these hieroglyphs get here? And why are there heads in Easter Island? And, all those things that they talked about. I think it's Eric Von Donigan's last name. It's escaping me.
Eric Von Donigan?
Yes. I think that's it. And the internet will correct us if we're wrong.
What's that?
The internet will correct us if we're wrong.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure.
But you know who we mean. And I remember reading that book when I was a kid. And then when I was 18, my dad handed me a book, and I don't remember which one it was. I wish I did. And he said, if I can teach you at 18 what I learned at 36, you'll be way ahead of me. And so I've been reading those types of books for literally decades. One of these days, I'll have a library that I can feature them all in. Right now, I just have to pull them out as I work with them. And then I got the Kindle. I love my Kindle because then I can lie in bed and read in the dark.
You could put your whole library on the Kindle.
Right. I don't like having my whole library in the Kindle, though, because there's something, maybe it's because I'm also an author, or maybe it's because I've always loved reading since I was a kid. There's something about holding a physical book and the smell of a bookstore and the tactile and energy of it. I mean, when I print a book, I contact a printer and I get 100 of them to use as promotional items and sell them at events and different things. I've got hundreds of books of my own. And there's something about getting a box of your own books and opening it up and you're so excited and you're holding it. There's something wonderful about a paperback or a hardcover. I didn't make any of mine in hardcover, but
I tell you, the old book smell. Oh my gosh. I wish there was a perfume that smelled like old books. Oh, that's the best.
I think somebody made that. Wasn't there a creator that did like laundry and grass? I bet you there's old bookstore.
That'd be great, because I tell you that does it for me. So you have written several books. Can you tell us about that? How'd you get started with that? What was
Well, I started with my own, and I tell you, that was a journey on its own. I was in marketing and I worked in the IT industry. Every job in the marketing department, I've done it. And in 2010, when the dot-com bubble burst in the IT industry, I found myself unemployed. And during that period of time while I was looking, I read an article about a couple who entered sweepstakes as a hobby and enhanced their life. And I thought, what a good idea. I don't have to work. I'll just win stuff. It does not work that way. I have never earned my living winning, but it really definitely has enhanced our lifestyle. Like, we're always going to free shows, or I've won 24 trips, but only a couple the last couple of years. So we've gone on trips that I've won. I'm gunning for number 25. That's what I'll win it. I just don't know where it'll be, too. That's the fun of it. Unlike Helene, who would pick one thing and just enter that one thing and enter it, I've decided that's not for me. I don't like that way of winning. To me, that's not fun. To me, it's the dreaming. Oh my gosh, look at this trip. This trip's going to Vegas. Ooh, this trip's going to Italy. Ooh, can I win the one to Hawaii? Oh, this one's going to Disney. I like the Christmas feel of not knowing what's going to be in the box, so to speak.
So you enter all of them. And
so I enter all of them and just have the anticipated excitement of winning one of them. I know, is this the one I'm going to win? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's that one's the one I'm going to win. So I'm expecting to win. She said I scattered my energy, and she's right, but I decided I'm okay with that. But what happened is I went on a winning streak back in 2004. And at that point, I was looking to my daughter. I ended up having a baby and stayed home. And then I thought, okay, it's time to go back to work. What do I want to do? And I was looking and, childcare and all these things. And we went on this winning streak. And someone said to me, everyone kept saying, how do you do it? And I said, well, I have a system. Because in my marketing background, I applied it to the hobby, because sweepstakes are one segment of marketing. They're part of a marketing plan a company would create to promote their business. And because I understood that aspect of it, I created this system. And it was very successful. And someone said, you should write a book. And I was researching, what do I need to do to write a book? I don't know. I've never written a book. And in my research, someone said to me, why would you give away all your secrets? Well, that's a good question. I was headed to a girlfriend's to talk to her about this. And I went a different way than I normally do. Obviously, destiny. Because on my way, I passed a church, and on the service announcement board, it said, "You can't lose helping others win." And I thought, that's my sign. Like people say, "God, please give me a sign." I had a literal sign from God. Now, we didn't have the phones that had the cameras on them at the time. I should have gone back and taken a picture, but it's burned into my memory. And when I was finished the book and I took a copy to the church because I had to thank them, the pastor told me, he said, it's one particular couple that does the boards every week. And he said, "I can't tell you the number of people that have come into the church after and said whatever the couple had put up on the board has changed their life."
Oh,
It ripples out. So this is the other thing I want people to learn. You don't know how big your pebble is because we think we live these small lives, but you don't know how that's going to ripple out. So they're out there just doing their little thing. They put up a little sign, probably go and have their lunch with their friends and do their little thing. And they put up a sign. Then I end up writing a book that has rippled out to all these people that led me, like, you don't know how big something small. And the fellow that told me that I should write a book, it was an offhand comment to him at a party. "Oh, you should write a book." I'm finishing book number 11 in print, and I've got working on my 4th Audible. You have no idea. He just made an offhand comment at a party, didn't think twice about it. And 14 books later, I'm here and I've got more to do.
Right.
So you might say something to somebody one day or do something one day and have no idea how big an impact you've made on the world. So don't underestimate yourself and why we need you here on this planet, because you probably have no idea the immensity and the enormity of your gifts being here.
Now, did you ever get to meet the couple who did the board?
No, I didn't. I just met the pastor, gave him a book. I think they probably change it every Sunday when they're in the church or whatever day they do it.
So what was your first book that you wrote?
So my first book was You Can't Win If You Don't Enter, because you can't. But then I discovered that sounds like work and people don't like to work. So then I wrote How to Win Cash, Cars, Trips, and More. That was updated. And now I'm working on prizes everywhere. But in all that, I had met Helene Hadsell, and she asked me to take over her legacy. So I've already republished her books. Now, here's another really good example for your listeners. I swear that the best opportunities come out of adversity. The Name It and Claim It game was her best-selling book. It's obviously my best-selling book. I get a message from Amazon saying the copyright page is incorrect. You need to fix it or we're pulling the book in 5 days.
No.
That's not good news. Panic sets in, obviously. So I send them back and I say, I hold the copyright. They're like, that's not the problem. Here's the page. Go read it. They're not helping you. You have to figure this out. It's like a clue mystery game. You have to figure out. Now, I did eventually figure out what I had done wrong is I used the copyright format that Helene had used that may have been good at the time when she was publishing, but it wasn't up to date for the current publishing method. So once I fixed it, figured out what the new format should be, then it was fine. So I wasn't too far off, but far off enough that Amazon wasn't happy. But in that, I thought I should contact her previous publishers to make sure there's no outstanding copyright. So the first one was a large publishing company, still in business, easy to reach. But the second one seemed to be gone in the wind. And I did a lot of searching. And I figured out the owner of that publishing company was Tag Powell. And I thought, I know that name. Well, when I had been down to Helene's to collect the remains of her business files and I got to poke through her library and take whatever books I wanted, there was a book by Tag Powell called The Silva Mastery Method. And I went, I knew I recognized that name. So that's how he came to know Helene to republish her second edition, because he was a Silva instructor and she met him through Jose.
Oh my goodness.
So I found some addresses and I sent letters off into the wind. I had no idea. I got a call from him one day. He was still alive. He was living in Florida, but he'd had a stroke and had COPD. So I sent him all of Helene's books that I had republished, and he was blown away because the publishing when he was doing it in the 70s and 80s is completely different to how it is now. And he couldn't believe how I had updated her books to what he had done. And then I realized he had written a whole ton of books. So I said, well, who's maintaining your legacy? He said, nobody. I said, how would I do it? So we came to an agreement and I went down to Florida and I bought 10 of his books and 5 of his audio series that I'm in the process of republishing. The first one's already done. It's called Money and You. And the companion audio product, Instant Money, is out. It's so cool. So out of that panic, I tripled my inventory. So I have enough work to keep me busy till like 2026, 2027.
Fantastic.
Right? So not only am I updating the books, and some of them, what's really amazing is these books haven't been available. Like The Money in You was out of print for 42 years. So now a whole new audience can get it in ebook and paperback, and there's exercises in it. So if you buy the ebook, I made a PDF of just the exercise parts.
Yeah.
So you could just go and print it out. Or some people don't like to write in their books, right? So you could print out the free PDF and then write in that. And then multiple people, like if you're sharing it with your family, you can all do your own exercises and not ruin the book. And that's what I did for that, because so it's more modern. And then eventually I'll make that an Audible book.
That's exciting.
Right? Like things that they had never done. I'm so excited. I love doing this stuff.
That is so cool. That sounds amazing.
Right? But from thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my bestseller, to having this many more products. So when something happens, as Helene said, it's not a problem, it's a project.
Right.
Right? We have to remember that when something goes wrong, you go, this is a project. Let's just take up in the project. You don't have to like it, by the way. You just have to accept it. You don't have to like it.
Good point. We were talking earlier before we started recording about the energies being really, really dense right now and very, very heavy. So,
Oh my goodness.
it's so crazy right now. Yeah, we don't have to like it. It's a project. It is a project now, what's going on. And there's an end in sight as well.
Yeah, I just keep reminding myself of that. I keep saying this too shall pass. Like Helene's, one of her famous sayings is, there is never any failure, only a delay in results. So I keep saying, okay, there's a little hiccup. There's never failure. There's just a delay in the result. We'll get there. Just like a little detour on a road trip. That's all we're doing.
Yep. My favorite word is yet. It hasn't happened yet. And it has yet to happen. It's like, I have not mastered this yet. Still coming.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. So you've got a ton of books. You've got several books available now and translations. This is very exciting. All kinds of stuff. Also events you have coming up. Can you tell us about?
Yeah. I teach people how to win. So with my crowns, my contest queen crown, I teach people how to win sweepstakes contests and giveaways. And so I have classes like sweepstakes for beginners and how to win on social media, stuff like that. And then on my words for winning, I have Winovers for Wishcraft, which is the subtitle of Helene's bestseller. And she called it that because she knew people back in the 70s were going to call her a witch because she was manifesting all these things that seemed like witchcraft back in the day. So she called it Winovers, like maneuvers, for Wishcraft because she thought, well, if I already name it that, then I'm ahead of the crowd.
Yeah.
And so I teach that. And then I've revamped Tag Powell's Money in You. He had a seminar series. That's what the book was off of. So I've revamped that to help people work through those projects where they're stuck with money. Yeah, I'm not busy enough. And then I do live streams and I'm on TikTok and I'm
Yeah, you're everywhere.
I do a lot of stuff.
You are everywhere. So if somebody is wanting to win a sweepstakes, for example, maybe they want to go to Disneyland, what would be the best way for them to go about entering sweepstakes and going to Disneyland?
Okay, so there's 3 things I tell people to start with. The first is to set up an email address just for entering giveaways.
Good idea.
If it keeps stuff separate, it makes your life a lot easier. The second thing is to use a sweepstakes aggregate or a sweepstakes site because they already aggregate all the giveaways in one spot. You don't have to go searching all over the internet. And when you're using a good sweepstakes site, they've already pre-vetted the giveaways for you. They've checked the rules. They've looked for the different things. So you go to a site and you find a giveaway and they're already going to have everything broken down for you. They're going to tell you who's eligible to enter, what the frequency of entry is, and what the high-level rules are. So that way you know it's open to all 50 states. Oh, okay, that I qualify. It's a daily entry. Okay, I can enter this many days. Oh, and it ends on November 30th. Okay, I can enter every day for a month. And then, in case it needs something like if it's an Instagram, you might need a photo or a recipe contest. Like sometimes there's stuff involved, like skill-based giveaways. It depends. And they'll outline if it needs something else. Sometimes they're limited states. Sometimes if it's a liquor company, it'll be 21 and older, not 18 and older. So they outline all those things in the rules. And then if you find one in the wild, as I say, you can't miss them. Once you return on your reticular activator to see the word win, you will spot it at 100 paces.
What is reticular activator?
So, for example, you ever play that punch buggy game when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? So all of a sudden, you can spot like a Volkswagen Beetle at 100 paces because you're looking at them. You turned on that part of your brain to filter them in. So you're looking around, you're like, oh, there's one way in that driveway over there. Or we just passed one on the freeway. Like you can spot them. Otherwise, they would just be going by you. Or when you're going to look for a new car and you test drive that one, suddenly there's 100 on the road. You're like, where'd all these Jeeps come from? That's crazy. I never saw so many before, right? Like they're suddenly all around you, but they've always been there. And now you just see them. So once you get into the hobby of the lifestyle of sweepstakes, you just start to see the word win everywhere.
Oh my.
And I found my daughter, I'll never forget. I've been doing this since before my daughter was born. And I remember one time we were in the grocery store and I sent her off to get some snacks. I'm like, well, you can pick the snacks. You go into the chip aisle. So I'm off getting, I don't know what I was getting, bread or whatever. And then I'm like, where is that kid? She's taking so long. So I go and I find her in the chip aisle and she's got her phone out. She's taking pictures of the bags because there was a contest on one of them. And she wanted to make sure I knew about the contest. I thought, I have trained you so well. But she knew if I had a picture, I could go look up the rules at home and see what was involved to win the prize.
That is so.
I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you grow up in a house like that.
Double on her. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we didn't win that one. But sometimes we had friends over one time. When people come over, they bring snacks. Well, they brought I think it was Doritos, and it said on it that if you entered the code in the back of the bag, you got this free thing. But in very small print under it, it said you could also win the daily prize of an Xbox. It even took me a couple of times of looking at it to realize that there was a sweepstakes attached to it. So I entered it and actually won, and I gave that to my daughter last Christmas. I did some videos on it, but it was one. They were giving away an Xbox a day. And if you just entered, you could enter up to 5 codes a day to win.
Wow. So first of all, if somebody wants to win a contest, find your sweepstakes aggregator. Looks like I just did it.
Yeah, I put a list. So what I did was when I was starting out, there was no resources. So I made contestqueen.com a hub of all things contesting. So if you go to my website, I have under the resources just a list of all the aggregates. And I tell people, poke around and find the format you like. Like some are like a list, some are like a forum, some are like a blog, some are like, there's different ways, some are like groups. It depends on how they format the site and how the sweepstakes are loaded. I tell people, poke around and find the format you find comfortable to work with, because when you're having fun, you'll win. The minute you think it's work, you're not going to win.
Right.
So I tell people, poke around and find it, because they go, well, what's your favorite? I'm like, that doesn't matter. My favorite doesn't matter. It's what you like. It's your hobby.
That is awesome. So find a sweepstakes aggregator that you like, enter as often as you need to, or
yes.
Then what?
Then wait. You know, that sounds like funny advice, but every single person that I know has taken the hobby seriously and has entered seriously wins. And it doesn't take as much time as you need. A lot of people think, oh, she sits there all day entering giveaways. Oh, I wish I could do that. A good sweeper enters for an hour. And you can multitask. Do you like watching TV at night? Well, guess what? I have my little Chromebook. George bought me this little laptop table for Christmas one year. It's like the best thing I got. And I sit there with my little Chromebook in the living room with my cup of tea or watching, I don't know, whatever Netflix show we're like binging at the moment. And I'll sit and I'll enter. And then sometimes it becomes a discussion. Like, do you want to go here? Or do you want me to enter for tickets to this or whatever? You know, I'll look over at his lazy boy and I'll ask him questions. So we're sitting there and I'll be entering away while we're watching TV. And it's 2 birds, 1 stone. And I've won doing that. Sometimes I've hit instants. Sometimes I've had notifications while I'm doing it. It's been hilarious.
So have fun with it.
Yes.
And then what other mindset tricks can we have?
Well, you have to think you're going to be a winner before you are. I mean, that's why Helene started with the Nolan Vincent Peale book, The Power of Positive Thinking. No one was ever a grumpy bumpkin and won. I mean, it's probably possible, but your odds are down.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Right?
That.
I attend, there's actually, believe it or not, there's an annual National Sweepstakes Convention every year where hundreds of sweepers, I tell you the first time. So when I started researching the first book, that's how I discovered the Sweepstakes Convention. And I call him my husband and we went in 2005 to Moline, Illinois. It moves around every year. So this year it was in Las Vegas. Next year it's in Little Rock. The year after that it's going to Phoenix. We won't know where it's going after that until next year. But we went to Moline, Illinois, and we were having breakfast at the hotel, with those breakfast bars. I said to him, I know these people. This is weird. I feel like I've never met a soul there in my life. And I knew everybody. And then we got into the convention hall. There was 600 people just like me in there. I said, we're coming every year. These are my people. And I phoned a girlfriend who's highly intuitive. And she said, oh, you found your soul group. I'm like, yes, I tried. These are my people. 600 people who are all positive and happy. And they're all winners. They've all won prizes. Like, companies spend billions of dollars every year running giveaways. There's enough prizes for everybody. People think, well, if you win, you're less for me. No, trust me. There's so many giveaways running at any given time. It is physically impossible to enter them all.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not going to win them all. You can win a lot, but you're not going to win them all. That's the other thing with Helene. The math ain't mathing. I'm going to do a video on her 5,000 give prizes, because she would have had to won 20 prizes a month every month for 20 years to hit that number. Now, she won a lot.
Right.
Because I know sweepers that have won a lot. I know sweepers that have entered for a couple of decades who've passed the $1 million mark in prizes.
Wow.
It's possible, but they have not won 5,000 prizes, even passing that milestone in dollar figure. So I know she won lots, but I think she was projecting, actually. I think she was projecting that if she said it, it would happen. It didn't, but she probably did well. Because when I'm doing it consistently, now doing all these books and projects, I haven't been as consistent as I like. But if I'm consistent, I win 5 to 15 prizes every month. And when I say 15, some of them will be those will be the little ones. When you're entering some that have a lot of little prizes, text to win, or they have the collect to win, like you're looking for codes under bottle caps and labels and things. Oh, you instantly won another soda. Well, that's technically, it's a win, but it's only worth $1.99 or $2.50 or whatever, But it still counts. But that's one of the, 15. And so when you have giveaways like that, you could end up with 10 cases of soda that month. And then a big prize. So it's 11, but one of them's huge and 10 of them are small. So you can get like a mix, right? But I still count them as 10.
I would count it.
I would count it. I totally count it.
Bucks is $2.
Free cup of coffee. I tell my daughter when she's little, what's better than pizza? Pizza. That kid knows. She's good. She'll still spot them. She'll find them and she'll send them to me. She's found some Instagram ones and she's like, Mom, I really want to win this. Go enter it for me too, so we increase our odds of winning.
Okay. Now, I remember in the other podcast episode that I listened to you on, I can't even remember which show it was, but I listened to your interview and you said, you know what? If I win a case of soda, that's like less soda than I have to buy. So yeah.
Right. So
Like,
there's 3 kinds of prizes you want to win. There's going to be prizes that replace what you're already spending. So you win a grocery gift card. Now I don't have to spend money on groceries.
Right.
I win a beauty gift basket. Great. Now I don't have to buy shampoo and face cream. You win these replaceable things. Then there's things that are out of your budget, or things that are a little pricier, like maybe a brand new fridge or a big green egg or some cash, like $1,000 cash. Then there's the bigger prizes, like a car or the HGTV house, which someone did message me. They won this year's house. I'm trying to interview her. Oh, she won. And they get literally tens of millions of entries. Like Helene Hadsell, when she won her house in 1965, they told her there was 2 million entries and she won from that. And the HGTV house probably gets close to 200 million entries. So it really is like a needle in a haystack. But boy, if I was eligible to enter, I would be entering that one every day too, because somebody has to win. And it could be you. So I would still enter that one, even though it's a long shot.
Well, even when there are those big prizes, there's many second prizes, third prizes. Right?
Yes. Sometimes, so there's different types. Sometimes there's giveaways that have tons of prizes. Some of them have medium. So one of the keys to winning is to enter better odds sweepstakes. So you're going to enter locally, right? I do very well with all my local media, like TV and radio and local businesses. I mean, we just went on a date Saturday night with free tickets to go see a show called Billboard 2000. And from a different radio station, we're going back to the same theater for their Christmas Panto show. Rapunzel.
Okay.
You can take the naughty or nice option. We're going to take the naughty option, of course, because the nice one's going to make, well, we're not taking little kids, so we can take the naughty option. And we're going to go to a Christmas panto. So it's fantastic. We go out and date night. It doesn't cost us anything.
And for the American viewers, a panto is a pantomime. This is a show that's done at Christmas. It's usually a well-known story, and there's usually kind of stock characters.
Yeah, it's very British, actually. I had to even look it up what it was because they talk about it on British television.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a kind of a comical version of a story with some like outlandish things to it, like over the top characters.
Right.
So this one's Rapunzel, so it's going to be hilarious. They say it's a very hairy Christmas.
Oh,
with the Rapunzel.
Cute.
Right? Yeah, it's going to be fun. And so basically you're just going to go and enjoy some people on stage laughing and telling jokes and singing and weaving that all through a story that we know and putting their own twist on it. If you ever get a panto to your area, to get tickets, take your family. It's fun. So they have a kids version and an adult version. That's the other fun thing about it. They make one totally family friendly, so you can take your kids and not worry.
They do one for adults. Yeah, when I lived in Geneva, Switzerland, I was involved with English theater companies, and we would do pantos for Christmas. So much
fun, right?
Super fun. So we need to think outside the box in a way. It's, beyond winning free chips or a trip or a car. There's a lot of things that you can win, but it all starts with the mindset, doesn't it? It all starts with the expectation and the positive thinking.
Yeah, there's one, and it's almost a vibration. I think this is why Helene won so much. She went past the think like a winner, and she lived like a winner. She became a winner, and she lived in that vibration of winning. Like it was just who she was. It's almost an intangible, which is why I think she was so good at picking one prize and winning. But also the hobby has changed a lot since she entered. So I think that also leads to my technique being different. Because it was just mail-in those days, maybe some radio and the odd in-person. Now you don't even hardly see in-person. Radio's changed because you can text to win from hearing a code word on the radio. You can do all these things. Then online didn't even exist in her day. And then online even broke down to online games that you have to do to enter. And then there's just online forums. And then there's social media. So you can win on Facebook and X and Instagram and TikTok and like all these things that didn't exist. It's just so different now.
Yeah, you also help companies to run sweepstakes. Is that right?
Yeah, what's interesting is because I had that marketing background and I was teaching people as the contest queen, companies started reaching out to me to say, hey, can you help us get our word about our giveaway out to the people that would like to enter this giveaway? And I realized, I could still wear my marketing hat. I could put that crown back on because I hadn't worn it. And so I started a company called Idea Majesty because I wanted to keep the crown. Someone told me once I had the queen archetype, and I thought, of course I have the queen archetype. So I wanted to keep that. So I came up with Idea Majesty, and that's my marketing company. And so companies hire me to advise them on giveaways, consult on promotions, pre-vet the promotion before it's launched, blog about it, share it, get the word out. So I do all that kind of stuff. So I use all my marketing skills, which I love too. And then I couldn't think of a regal name for my author website. So I went with the energy of winning. So it's words for winning because it's all about books and positivity. So I went with that. So I thought that works.
That is so cool. Well, and that is your website too, is one of your websites, words for win.com, right?
Right. So that's where I sell. That's where all the books are. I mean, I have some books on Contest Queen, obviously, the sweepstakes books, but Helene's other books and Tag and Judith's books, they don't fit. They needed a home. They needed a home to live. And so I built them a house online.
At wordforwinning.com and contestqueen.com.
Right. I mean, small businesses generally don't reach out to me for the sweepstakes marketing. It tends to be agencies and sponsors themselves of like bigger promotions. That's where I usually get involved. And I love doing those too. They're fun because now something I wasn't doing before was I create videos for them now. And so then I put them on TikTok and shorts and reels to help get the word out of the giveaway. And so I get to be a little bit crazy and screaming that they could win.
That is so fun. Oh my gosh.
I love sharing. And sometimes people that if I've worked with a client and I've shared the giveaway, I receive a notification after, oh my gosh, I saw you were helping this company promote this giveaway, because I'm very transparent about it as per the FTC rules about sponsorship. So I talk openly. Oh, I have a new client. I'm so excited. They're hosting a giveaway. Like, I'm very open about it. And sometimes people message me, oh, I saw you promoted so-and-so's giveaway. And guess what? I won. I'm so happy for them. I love that.
Well, that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Got so much going on. This is crazy. You've got all these books coming out. I mean, you're never going to run out of stuff.
No, I don't think I will, because so what's interesting is I had a reading. I love astrology and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I know. And back in 2014, at the end of 2013, so almost 11 years ago, I had a reading with Robert Ohotto, who wrote the book Transforming Fate into Destiny. Now, he doesn't do readings anymore, but he still teaches online. And I had a reading with him, and he basically outlined certain things in my life, like he said, because at that time I was only doing Contest Queen, and he said, she's not the mountain, she's just part of your destiny and all this stuff. And he told me that I would be working with a lot of other metaphysical teachers. And he said, you don't lose the Contest Queen because you say, well, maybe we're having this workshop with all these amazing teachers, and guess what? I'm also the Contest Queen, so we're going to have prizes. And I thought, okay, I'm thinking, I have no idea what he's talking about. After my web guy created the Words for Winning website, and he put my picture and Helene's picture and Tag's picture and Judith's picture on it, I looked at it, and it's 10 years from when Robert told me that. I was, oh my gosh, he was right. I'm doing it with books.
Yeah, you are.
Like, it was already on my path of destiny.
Yeah.
How crazy. And I know intuitively that when I get closer to the end of finishing the crazy amount of projects I played at the moment, there will be more authors like down the pipe. When the time is right, those authors will show up. I'll buy their works and republish them for a new audience. So I'm not worried about the next step, because I know it's going to be there. And I'm so busy now, I'm not really worried about more authors at the moment. I mean, if somebody showed up tomorrow, I would open the door, but I'm working on a Spanish edition, I'm working on an Audible edition, and I'm working on a print edition right now.
Wow. Now, do you do the translations yourself?
No, I've hired translators. And then, so what I have figured out is many times as I've edited a book, it's impossible to find all the mistakes. So what I'm doing is, as I do the Audible, and I'm finding those, even with line edits, something again about talking the book out. And here's the other thing. Sometimes lines read well. Like when you're just reading it, it makes perfect sense. When you say it, it sounds stupid. I'm like, how did this read? I read it. I'm like, that makes sense. I say it. I'm like, that sounds awful. So then I'll fix it. So it's audible, hence the name Audible. So it works when I'm talking. So I've updated Helene's books as I've gone along. And for example, in Contact with Other Realms, we were editing the book, audiobook, and the producer said, these chapters, they don't sound right. We need to flip them so that the story goes like this. Because when you read the book, it's fine. Right. And I said, okay. So I went in the book and I flipped the chapters. He goes, you can do that? I said, my goal, my task from Helene was to maintain her legacy. And if flipping the chapters means I maintain her legacy to the highest degree, then I will flip the chapters. It's as simple as that. So we flipped them, because that way, if you have the paperback and you have the audio, I think it's called Whisper Sync. So you can listen and read at the same time. So you want the audio book to match almost as close. But I've had to change things, like Helene says in one of the books, dear reader, I have a challenge for you. So then I had to remember to change it to dear listener, I have a challenge for you. It's all these little things that you don't think of.
Right.
So once I do the audio book and I know there's not going to be any more edits, then I send it for translation. And then after it's translated, I get it proofread by somebody who knows the language. And then I do layout, and then I publish it. So already the Name It and Claim It game and In Contact in Other Realms are in Audible in Spanish. And they're also in Spanish. The Name It and Claim It game, I've got people working on it in German, French, and Italian right now. They'll be out. That's a much slower process. So those 2025 sometime, maybe even late 25. And I'm working on the Spanish edition of A Man Called Friday. So that should be out soon, maybe next month. It's very close to being done. I'm so excited. I'm doing the Audible of Confessions of an 83-Year-Old Sage, which is a hilarious title for me to talk about, because people look at me and go, you do not look 83.
Oh,
I'm like, thank you. Good skin cream.
Good genes.
Yeah, it's not my book, but
but that's wonderful.
yeah, so I'm doing the Audible of that, and it's very fun.
Yes, and all of these are available on your website, right? Wordsforwinning.
Yeah, and you know what I did? I'm so excited. I had wanted to have a giveaway. A lot of people, they say sign up for a newsletter and get something free. In marketing, it's called a lead magnet.
Right.
Your listeners can learn something new. It's a lead magnet. They give you something free and you sign up for their newsletter. And I have a little book for Contest Queen called this little sweepstakes starter kit. And it's a little 12-page booklet with a lot of tips on winning. So if people sign up for my newsletter, The Winning Edge, they get that free little booklet. But I was racking my brains, what do I do for Words for Winning? Because I couldn't come up with a little booklet. It wasn't gelling. Well, one day I found another creator who was giving away a meditation as part of his lead magnet. I thought, what a good idea. So I contacted my producer that's doing the Audible books and I said, can we do that? And he said, sure, send me the script. I'm like, no, I didn't write it yet. I just wanted to even know if we could do it. So I wrote out, because I've been taking the Silva method, because I can't teach what I don't know, because Tag was a Silva instructor and Helene worked with Jose Silva. So I'm in the process of becoming a Silva method instructor.
Yes.
I took that kind of format. It's a good, like a skeletal structure. And I wrote out a Helene Hadsell spec-inspired meditation that's 15 minutes long. And I went in and I recorded it and we added all that beautiful, music in the background. And if you sign up for my Words of Wisdom newsletter, you get a free meditation, which I'm so excited about.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I've heard good feedback. So I'm very proud because we worked on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So I'm very excited.
Gosh, you've got so much to offer here and so much that's available to anybody who wants to know more about winning, more about mindset, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. And if people want to learn more about Helene, check Words for Winning, because the other thing that I am blessed with being able to do is I'm posting on the website under blogs, things that she wrote and created that either haven't seen the light of day for decades or had never seen the light of day. Like she never published them publicly. So a lot of her works that were either lost or unpublished are now available to be read.
That is so exciting. So we'll put the website for this and Contest Queen in the show notes so everybody can sign up for your newsletters, order the books, look at the blog, learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. You got so much going on. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really
Thank you so much.
Don't know what to watch next? Decisions. Well, we've got some suggestions. You can click this little video here and watch that. It's something that we think you're going to like. If you like the last one, you're going to like that one too. You can also click on the subscribe button. And if you do that, then you'll get notifications whenever we have a new video up. Win-win, right?